On top of an intriguing storyline and characters, a unique decision-based quest system with multiple different endings, and a well-crafted map to explore, Banishers Ghosts of New Eden has surprised me with the depth of its combat system. While I've been playing in early access, I realized it's something that hasn't really had a chance to shine through in the existing trailers, and I know you're probably eager to check it out. So when I brought this up to the publisher and developer, Focus Entertainment and Don't Nod, they said we should team up to bring you guys this exclusive combat preview before the game launches on February 13th. So first, we'll break down the key combat mechanics together, and then we'll check out a live gameplay demo to give you a taste for how the game really plays. Banisher's combat system is rich and complex, with a nice set of basic mechanics, lots of skills to unlock, and plenty of gear options with different stats and unique bonuses for Red and Antea that you can leverage to create an optimized build for your playstyle. And you will want to take advantage of all those options. The combat can be quite challenging, especially early on and on higher difficulties. But as you get the hang of the core mechanics, unlock skills, and crucially, obtain and upgrade better gear, Red and Antea get much stronger, and the combat loop begins to feel much more rewarding and a lot of fun. Running around with Red feels a lot like controlling Kratos in God of War 2018 and Ragnarok. There's no jumping, and we have a single tap to dodge and double tap to roll. And just like God of War, you don't want to get too button smashy with that, or you'll get yourself into trouble. Red's primary weapons are a blade called the Saber and torch called the Firebane. Of course, we have light and heavy attacks, and each has a basic 4-hit combo. You can also charge a heavy attack to deal more damage or break an enemy's guard. Red won't throw his saber like Kratos throws his axe, but he can hit from range with his rifle, which, accurate to the era, takes some time to reload. While you're reloading though, you can shove enemies back to protect yourself a bit, and the 2-stage reload allows you to get half the job done, pause to fend off an attacker, and then finish loading afterwards. Red can also block and parry. However, at the start, your block doesn't actually block all damage. 15% will still get through. And while I love when I can nail the parry, the windows to do so are pretty tight, and there's not any sort of signal to help with your timing. You have to go off the enemy's animations alone, and some of them are hard to predict. It takes some practice to get the parry down, so at first, I recommend prioritizing repositioning with the dodge and roll instead. You do want to avoid damage as much as possible though, because you have very few healing potions and you'll have to head back to a shelter to get more. Red also builds up charge on the orange banish gauge each time he lands a hit. Once the gauge is full, you can unleash a powerful blow to deal a nice chunk of damage. And don't be afraid to use it often. You can build up banish charge pretty easily, as long as you're not being too passive, and there are some skills that can help make building up charge even easier. But the real special part of Banisher's combat is the ability to seamlessly switch between Red and Antea. In addition to building up banish charge when you land hits with Red, you'll also build up Antea's blue spirit points, which fuel her basic punches and her powerful special attacks called manifestations. Early on, you'll get the leap manifestation, allowing Antea to launch forward and land a brutal punch, which can break an enemy's guard and deals a good amount of damage. You'll also get outburst pretty early, which can be charged up to unleash a devastating spectral explosion that hits enemies all around. Now, it's important to know that, as a spirit, Antea is better at attacking possessed enemies, like these wolves being reanimated by specters, and Red, as a living human, is better at attacking spirits. So you'll often need to use Antea to knock a specter out of the body it's possessing, and then switch to Red to finish off the specter in its basic form. Switching between the two of them is even stronger when leveraging the perfect switch mechanic, which allows you to gain a powerful attack by switching to Antea at just the right moment during a combo. For example, the devastating switch skill allows you to do the first 3 swings of Red's light attack, and then you'll see his Banisher rings glow blue, indicating it's time to switch to Antea so she can automatically land a powerful punch. There's a handful of perfect switch skills to unlock, each with a new combo, and unlocking multiple will stack the 20% damage boost you get with each one. So perfect switch is a powerful mechanic you can utilize to gain the upper hand. Speaking of skills, there's multiple trees to unlock, each based around a different one of Antea's manifestations. You get spirit points to unlock skills for Antea by completing hauntings, or quests, and skill points for Red by leveling up. Enemies do respawn out in the world, so you can go farm them for XP if you want to, but most XP will come from quests. Now, there's even more to the combat system than this, but those are all the essentials you need to get started. Now, let's check out the combat demo so we can see some of these mechanics in action. So here's our first little combat encounter. Again, this is a point in the story where we've just recently unlocked the Outburst skill. So we get the little tutorial card here, and I can show you guys how that works. So this is a good example because we have a couple of regular Spectre enemies here, like this guy that's attacking us. And then we also have a possessed corpse, which is, that one's called a Bone Walker. So because he's possessed, we're going to want to switch to Antea here. She's more effective against possessed enemies. And then we can use that Outburst ability. We'll charge it up. And you can see that's pretty strong. We killed those other Spectres in one shot. And that orange is a unblockable attack, so you need to dodge those. And then the Spectre is actually still inside this corpse making the Bone Walker. So we want to attack him with Antea. We can just do some basic attacks. There's that unblockable again. Basic punches. Or we can use our leap, although we already got him out. So now the Spectre's out of the corpse, we'll want to switch to red because he's more effective against these guys. So we can do a couple heavy attacks and crush that guy.
You'd have to die first.
So now we're in this little marshy bog area that I wanted to get us to. There's a couple of different combat things we can do in here, which is pretty cool. A couple of different encounters and a handful of different enemies. And a special type of combat encounter we're headed for right now. So you can see there's more of these basic Spectre enemies. They're fairly weak, but they will possess corpses like this one. And we'll see if we can get one to do it in combat here. So I'll show you guys an example. There's also these little wisps that are basically one hit. And they'll like suck the life out of you, so you kind of want to take care of them quickly.
I can help.
Antea's blue spirit bar down there is fully charged up, so she'll give you kind of audio prompts like you heard to tell you to encourage you to use her, which is definitely important to be switching between the two of them. So over here, we have something a little bit interesting.
Swarming specters. Force them to appear with the right words of power.
So this is what's called a nest or ritual site, and it's a special type of combat encounter. You'll see when I get going here that has a special combat modifier, each one does. And it's kind of meant to train you to try out different aspects of the combat system.
Unveil yourself.
So there's that card in the upper right. It says we get more damage when we do perfect switches and after parries, running, and dodging. So this damage we're dealing right now is actually reduced because we're in this special combat scenario.
Spectre possession.
Oh, there's a Spectre doing a possession. So you can see there he gets a symbol. And I'll try and give you a good view of it. He just reanimated that corpse. So you want to try to prevent that by attacking them before they do it, because now we have to deal with more Bone Walkers. So I'm going to switch to Antea, and we'll use our charged ability. And it's fairly effective, but you can see it wasn't as effective there, and especially her punches are weaker. Simply because we're in this special combat scenario where it wants us to do perfect switches. So I'll show you one of those. I can dodge forward with red. Let me get some distance here. Dodge forward with red, and then switch to Antea, and I did 96 damage there. Here's another one I'll show you, another perfect switch combo. So if I hold block and get hit, you can switch to Antea as you're being hit. That was a parry right there. There's another parry. And you can see in the bottom left, we now have the orange gauge built up. That's the banish gauge for red. So we can go ahead and banish one of these guys. I'm going to switch back to Antea. We'll charge up another outburst. And see, we knocked one of the Spectres out of the animated corpse again, so we can attack with red. We'll do another perfect switch. We knocked that Spectre out. This is a little bit stronger type of Spectre. Switch to Antea again. You can see her fists are glowing after I dodge. That's the perk that our gear's giving us that lets us do a little bit more damage with her after dodging. But there, her spirit gauge ran out. So we have to be back at red now because we don't have any spirit points to fuel Antea. Building up her spirit gauge also happens when you hit enemies with red. So I'm going to do some perfect switches here. Oh, there's this possession again, so I'm going to run for this guy and try and stop him. before he's able to reanimate that corpse. And there we took him out. I'll do another perfect switch. I'll show you another perfect switch combo so I can do 3 hits with red. And then we get a powerful punch with Antea that actually stuns enemies and knocks them down, which is pretty cool. We'll do another banish here.
There's a tough one.
Switch to Antea. I want to focus on this possessed corpse with her because she's better at that. Now we missed this possession, so that specter we had behind us there reanimated this corpse. We'll use the rifle a bit. It's not going to be too helpful for us here in this scenario because it wants us to do perfect switches basically. But we can get a headshot there. And I also really like, I have a skill unlocked right now that gets us a free reload by doing a perfect switch and hitting with Antea. So we'll do another perfect switch, go back to red, and I have the rifle, but the damage is kind of reduced because that's not really what it wants us to do in this scenario right now. Ran out of spirit points there, so I'll do a heavy attack to break his block. Dodge out of the way there. I'm going to go ahead and drink a health potion. Switch back to Antea. Outburst. We've almost got the Spectre out. There it is. Do a few heavy attacks on this guy. Perfect switch and finish him off. And we've got a few more.
There's more of them.
If you sprint, you can actually get a kind of a cool combo by doing a heavy attack or light attack off a sprint. So you can either stab like that,
Spectre possession.
or we'll go and try and stop this possession. We can do a heavy and do a jump attack like that. Okay, so now we have a Tormented. These guys are kind of annoying. So they actually protect the other enemies, and you need to take them out first. So I'm going to use a Banish on this guy, and he actually dodged us there. We can still use our Banish, though, which is nice. We're going to get out of here. Drink another potion.
Trouble's about.
We still need to deal with the Tormented. So we're trying to focus on him because he's protecting the other enemies at the moment. So I'm going to keep focusing on this green Tormented. We'll do some perfect switches on him. They also have these tracking ranged attacks that are pretty difficult to deal with. We almost have the Tormented done.
It's coming for you.
I think we're going to miss that. He's going to get a possession in. Yep. So we're going to have to deal with another Bone Walker there. I'll run back. We really need to get rid of the Tormented so he's not protecting the other enemies anymore. There we go. And now we'll do some perfect switches.
Once more with vigor.
I'll do an Outburst again, since we're mostly dealing with possessed enemies at the moment. You can see that those perfect switches are really pretty strong. Now, our regular damage was reduced during that encounter because it was a special combat scenario and Nest, but the perfect switches are strong in any scenario. So another little combat encounter here. We've got some more Bone Walkers to deal with. We'll use the leap, dodge these attacks, do an outburst. Another leap. The leap recharges pretty quickly. Outburst doesn't recharge as fast. they'll scream like that. We actually don't have any spirit points to do it right now, but you can break out of that stun by switching to either Antea or Red, basically switching to the other one, depending on who you've got at the moment. Okay, so this guy is a ranger. I'll show you this. It's kind of cool. These guys have regular bullets. They'll also have spectral tracking bullets, which are kind of a pain. But really interesting that some of the enemies have ranged attacks. He also has these bombs that he throws on the ground. These will slow you down. And he actually just nailed us there with a rifle shot. Those guys have very good aim.
They never learn, do they?
Switch to Antea. We'll get the Spectre out of this guy. Actually finished him off there, but we do have another one here we can fight with Red. And we cleaned him up. As you can see, the combat system in Banishers has many layers, and weaving them all together unlocks a pretty cool experience, especially with the unique mechanic of switching between Red and Antea. Banishers releases in just a few days on February 13th, and keep an eye out for my full review. I'll link it right here when it's up. If you like what you see, you can pre-order now on PS5, PC, and current gen Xbox. Huge thanks to Focus and Don't Nod for being so awesome to work with, and thanks to my friend VB for joining me in early access to dig up all these tips for you guys. For a proper Banishers sign-off, I'll leave you with Red and Antea's creed. Life to the living, death to the dead.